Alright, your Chapter 9 review. The first thing, ladies and gentlemen, you have to remember is when you see the absolute value signs, what does your graph look like? A V. If you see the square, it's going to look like a U, a parabola. Alright, so the first thing, Kelsey, what do we have to do? What do we have to put in here to make this to be 0? Negative 3. So I have negative 3. I put in negative 3 to find my y value. So in your calculator, you are literally putting negative 1/4 absolute value of negative 3 plus 3, which is 0. So that's still all 0 minus 4. So 0 minus 4 gives me 0, because this is 0 times 0, that's 0, minus 4 is negative 4. If this is negative, it's going to be, it flips it. So is that your highest point or it's max? Line of symmetry. X equals negative 3. This graph, because it's negative, the graph goes, it's flipped this way. So is this a max point or it's a max? What is the max value? It's your vertex. Negative 3, negative 4. So you plot this point, negative 3, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I need a point to my right and a point to my left. Well, let's pick the point 0 just to see where it's going to cross this axis. So 0, I'm putting in 0 for x, finding out what my y is. So negative 1/4.
I thought you wanted to do 1 to
it doesn't matter which, as long as it's to the right, to the left. It doesn't matter to me. You can do 1 if you want. Do you want to still do 1 over?
Yes.
Okay. So that would be 1, 2. So that's negative 2 you want to do. So negative 2. So negative 2 plus 3, absolute value of negative 4. Alright? So, then this is negative 2 plus 3.
negative 1.
1. So 1 times negative 1/4 is
Negative 1.
negative 1/4 minus 1 minus 4.
So 3 point, negative 3 point.
This, if you owe me a fourth and then you owe me another 4,
Negative 4.25.
it's going to be 4.25. So we have here at this point it's 1, 2, 3, 4.25, and then this way it's also going to be 4.25. All right. What is negative 2 plus 1? What does it mean when it's right here? Do you know what this symbol is? Multiplication, addition, subtraction.
That's a V.
Like since there's nothing there and it's right next to each other. Multiplication. So I did 1/4 times 1, which is 1/4. And then I brought down my, no, that's fine. And then I brought down my 1/4. So since this is negative and that's negative, it's like you would add the numbers together. Yes.
For 3 and 6, what was the answer?
We'll get there. All right. Seems like it should have been what? Actually, this should have been a lot. Probably 0.5 should have been higher up. A V, because it's absolute value.
It's like a party.
All right. All right. Questions on number 1? All right.
Why do you have sunlight? Never mind.
All right. So, Hannah, how do I find my vertex? What's my first step of finding my vertex? So what will it be? It'd be negative 1. So you look there, see what makes it 0. So it's negative 1 and 3. Very good. Line of symmetry. Line of symmetry would be, class? X equals -1.
They would be like
Is this right here is like this, so it is also a max. Our max value is -1, 3. So, -1, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again, I need a point on both sides, so I'll put 0 in. So I have -0 plus 1 squared plus 3. So I have 1 plus 3 gives me a 4. And that's not right. Oh, and I forgot the negative up front. So this is 0 plus 1 is 1 squared times my negative, so it's -1 plus 3, so it's 2. Okay, after you get your vertex, what? Okay, after you get your vertex, just wait, am I thinking something different? No, okay, so after I got plotted this, I'm going to find a 0. Like, I want to find another, like an XY chart. So I chose 0. I want to know where it hits here. So when it's 0, what is my Y? So -0 plus 1 plus 3. Just put it in there. What is 0 plus 1? 1. Squared is 1 times my negative, so it's -1. This is a 1. Yeah. So -1 plus 3 is 2. Right? So I add 0, it's 2. 1, 2.
Oh, that looks like a 4. No joke.
Yeah, well, because at first we did say 4 because we said that this was 1 before you get.
That's why I was confused.
Yep, that's why. And then I said that's not right, so then we went back. So also there. We'll see. It's probably tomorrow. I don't think we'll. All right. What's the narrowest? Which one will make it be the narrowest? If you think about it, you guys look at this. This is a whole number, and then this one. See how it's making, and because we chose that one, it makes this wider. So when it's a fraction, remember it's wider. When it's a whole number, it's narrower. So this is the whole number, so that makes it your narrower. Which one has a vertex of 2, 7? So remember, you have to look at each one and say which one of these are 2, 7. So looking here, see how this would get 0, and that's your 7. So it's A. When you have line of symmetry, you're looking at your x of your vertex. So we're looking which one of these has our x being 5. This one would have been -5. That's 3.
It's C.
This is +5, so that is C.
Ooh, if the questions like this are on the test, I'll do good.
The discriminant, remember, is the thing that's under.
Are we going over the back? I need to go.
Under the square root is your is called your discriminant. If this is negative, ladies and gentlemen, if it's negative, you would have none because you can't take the square root of a negative number. So you'd have 0 x-intercepts. If it was a positive, like the square root of 25, how many would you have? Like you'd have -3 plus or minus the square root of this over 2. How many answers would you have? Yeah, I'm making it. If this was positive, how many answers would you have? 2. So that's 2. If it's 0, how many answers would you have? If it was negative 3 plus or minus 0 over 2, you'd have 1, because it's going to be the same number. You'd have 1. All right. To find the x-intercepts, the first thing you have to do is set this to the y to 0. So 0 equals negative 3x squared plus 5x plus 6. Then you have to use the quadratic. So you have negative b. So you have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So Lincoln, you set this up for me. So I have negative b. So I have
negative 5.
Plus or minus square root 5 squared minus
4 negative 3 and multiply by
6 all over 2, which is negative 3. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you try to put this in your calculator. If you do not try to put it in your calculator, you probably won't get it right tomorrow. So try 5 squared minus 4 times negative 3 times 6.
So would you use parentheses?
Yes. And you should get 97.
Yeah, so I didn't use any parentheses, but I still got that.
But make sure that you can go negative 5 plus the square root of 97 all over negative 6. You either have to put parentheses here or do the top, push enter, divide by 6. You should go negative 5 plus the square root of 97.
Negative 5 plus square root of 97.
Enter, divide by negative 6.
I got negative 0.8.
So that's your first x. Your other x is negative 5 minus the square root of 97 divided by negative 6. It's negative 0.8. Make sure you try. You should get 2.5. If you didn't put parentheses, if you put this whole thing in and you didn't put parentheses, did you put 1 there? This comes, so that this should be a negative.
Hey, Ms. V, so what
Yep.
I did was
Just
I
one second. Negative. I'll look at yours. Yeah. Oh, go to. I know what yours is. It's minus that. And what's yours? What's your question, Josh?
Now, what I did was I did negative 5 plus the square root of 97, then I divided it by 6, and I got 0.808, or negative 0.8, and then I did it negative 5 plus radical 97 or whatever, with the parentheses divided by 6. I got negative 3.3.
Yep. When you did it, you have to make sure you have parentheses. If you have to have a parenthesis here, here, and there.
Yeah, I just got negative 3.3, and I added the parentheses. And it's on top of it too, because if I had it on the math,
You only look at the difference. And this is important for you guys to know, and this is why I said you only have this parenthesis, you're missing this parenthesis. See the difference? See,
so I need to be a big one.
because what it did is it would divide this out, then add 5. You need to have parentheses around that whole thing. So you need parentheses around that whole thing. So that's why I said I would do the top, divide by.
So do the top first and then divide?
Yep, so do the top first, enter, divide by. That's how I would do it. Or else the parentheses are wrong. Alright, so
Do I still need to put parentheses around 97 if I don't?
no. So your first, this is your x value, so you have negative 0.8. What is your y value on x-intercepts? Did you get it?
Yeah.
What's your y value when you have x-intercepts? 0. So the other one is 2.5. 0. How do you find your vertex?
X equals 0 plus
X equals 5, negative 5, right? 5
x
over
equals
3
negative b over 2a. So it's negative 5 over negative 6.
Wait, is this a test or a quiz tomorrow?
It's a big quiz.
It's a big quiz.
Can
So
I use this?
mhm.
Yeah, but you can use
So
it.
it will like point.
0.83.
So it'll
Like
be
that.
0.83. Yep. So 0.83, and then you plug it in there. So negative 3 times 0.83 squared plus 5 times 0.83 plus 6 gives you 8. What's my line of symmetry? X
23.
equals 0.83. Is this a max or a min? It's a max because it opens down, so it's a max. What's the max value? 0.83. What? Did you? Who said what? Did you? Which part? This one? Negative 3. Does that open up or open down? Not that? Okay. Vertex form. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, you have y. Got it? Make sure in vertex form that you have y equals a parenthesis x minus x1 squared plus y. And that's your point. So when you're doing this, it's your y equals, what's a?
What is this formula right here? I've never seen
Vertex form, yes, you have negative 3
X minus 0.83.
Could you do me a favor?
Plus
Just
8.
copy this, like,
Yeah, you can take this.
Aren't you studying? Aren't you writing it down now?
no,
So,
because I don't want to mess anything up.
so when you have here, as long as you're paying attention. So you have here, the first thing we're going to do is do our vertex. So we have 0.8. We're graphing 0.8 and up 8. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have my x-intercepts is at negative 0.8 and 2.5. 1, 2.5.
What is it?
Yeah, what's your question, Hannah?
Wait, it's 2.5.
Your x-intercepts were
Yeah.
2.50 and negative 0.8, comma 0.
Wait, how did you get the vertex again?
X equals negative b over 2a.
I've never seen that one formula that you just did.
This only, I never wrote it out like this, but remember we always did it as it's the same number here, but it just helps people out when they know where it's coming from. But it's the same letter here, and then your parenthesis, and then the x
One.
minus.
X minus x1? Is that it?
Yep. What is the without looking at this, Hannah? What would be the vertex of that right there?
The x?
What would be the vertex of this?
Oh, negative 8.
No, it'd be
And
0.83.
0.83 and
8.
8. Sorry.
0.838, just like we've been doing.
It's right here.
Yep. So it would be, but looking at that, see why it's opposite? It's opposite because what makes it 0? So you have to do the opposite of it, and that's what this is saying. Some people just wanted formula, so it just makes it a little easier for some people to know where the things come from. All right. X-intercepts.
Wait.
Uh,
So I got 0 for 6. I got 0. Like the thing under the radical. Now.
wait, which number? For number 8, the next one? It's actually 8 because I messed up on numbering. But we're going to do that.
Well, I know, but like, is the.
So, finding the x-intercept. First thing is 0 is equal to 2x squared minus 4x plus 2. Then I can use the quadratic. So I have negative b, so I have 4 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So I have negative 4 squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And what he was saying is 16 minus 16, that's 0. So we have 4 plus or minus 0 over 4. So that gives me one answer. So my x-intercept is 1, comma, 0.
That's it.
What is my vertex? How do you find, what's the formula to find the x of the value? Negative b over 2a. So negative b over 2a. So so that's also 1. And you plug it in, you get 0. So what's happening is your vertex, we have 1, 0. Your vertex and x-intercepts are the same thing. So how are we going to be able to graph this? Just like we did on the other side, what are we going to do? Well, you got to do something. How can I get a point?
I don't understand what that.
Right there, it's all right there. You draw your point.
How can I find another point on this side? Just like the other side.
Chart.
XY chart. You're plugging it in, right?
Yeah.
So XY chart, when x is 0, what is y? 2. So 0, 2. That means that this way is also 2. What's my line of symmetry?
X equals 1.
Is
Y
it
equals 2,
Min.
parentheses, x plus 1, parentheses, the second power plus 0.
for what?
Well,
So is this a max or min? It's a min. What's my min value? And vertex form.
Y equals 2, parentheses, x plus 1, squared, plus 0.
X minus 1.
X minus 1 squared plus 0, and you don't need that. Because what's the vertex here? No, what's the vertex of the, if this was your function, what would be your vertex? Huh? 1, because it's what makes it 0. It's always the opposite. It's always the opposite, and then your y value is the same. All right. Two things. You have two